we usually knew our flights in advance, but there are times where we were on call. We had hard days off where we weren't on call. But on the days we were on call, we had to be able to get to the airport within 2 hours and go wherever it was that the customer wanted to go. So I had a bag packed all the time. I had my passport ready. And so let's say on a typical day where we know where we're going. So unlike airlines, the charter pilot, you're in charge of everything. So the night before a flight, you're on flightplan.com. You're filing your flight plan from however many legs you have that day. So for example, let's say we had a day where we picked someone up in Addison Airport. So the first flight plan is going to be Fort Worth Meacham, where our planes were based, over to Addison empty with just 2 pilots. So file that flight plan. Then you got to have the flight plan filed to go from Addison to Aspen, Colorado, and have that one on file. You have everything printed out. In advance, you're working with dispatch, and it's their job to get passenger weights. Airlines use an average weight that whatever the FAA requires them to do. I think every 3 or 4 years they have to validate it. So they say, hey, we have 180 people and each person weighs 180 pounds, and that's it. We have to use actual weights for charter, so it can be uncomfortable at times for the dispatch team because they have to ask everyone what their weight is. And, we carry a scale. We had a scale on the plane to weigh the bags. And we had a scale if a passenger hadn't reported their weight that we would have to ask them to stand on so we could complete our weight and balance. At the beginning, when I first started, all the weight and balance, it was you'd work with a company that sends you a plotting chart and sheets of paper, and you do your weight and balance by hand. As time went by, fortunately, it was all automated on an iPad app where you could just upload your specific aircraft. It would take all the weight and balance data from that particular airplane, and then it would have all the station data, station meaning the seats and where the baggage was, and you'd plug in the weights, and it would plot your starting, CG limit for your weight and balance, and it would show as the fuel burned off, make sure you stay in the envelope the whole time. So you would have your flight plans printed out, you'd print out your weight and balance, you'd look at weather, you did it all. You show up at the airport, at least an hour early, you get the plane pulled out of the hangar, you get the fuel order put in, you get it fueled up, you start the APU, the auxiliary power unit, to get the airplane cooled down, get the air conditioner running, boot up all the avionics, load the flight plan in, get your clearance from ATC, make sure your flight plan matches your clearance. Check all the waypoints, and then about the time you finished all that, go tidy up the back, make sure the seat belts are crossed across the seat, make sure the snacks are stocked, the ice is in the ice chest, and then the people start showing up. You're the face of the company, so you go greet the people at their car. They pull straight up to the airplane in their car. You coordinate with the FBO, the fixed base operator, which is where they provide the fuel and a little mini passenger terminal, if you will, to park the people's cars and hold onto the keys for them. You load the bags in the back, get all the passengers loaded on the airplane, then you give them a briefing. Just like anytime you fly on a passenger carrier, you get the briefing over the PA system. We had to give a briefing. We had a briefing card. We had to explain where the emergency exits were, how you operate them, how you operate the door, how you put on the oxygen mask if it comes down. Everything that you're used to hearing, we have to do every single flight. It's an FAA requirement. And then after you've done all that, you hop up into the cockpit and you start up and start your day. So it's a lot. There's a lot of responsibility. What I left out, my company, we were allowed to choose our hotels. We had a budget constraint. So we would book our hotels. We would have to share a rental car. They wouldn't give us 2 rental cars, but you'd work with other pilots and say, hey, do you want to stay at this hotel? We'll get a car. So you're booking all that too. We would never do that for the passengers. They would have their own arrangements, or our team would do that for them. But we would have to make sure we had lodging set up for ourselves. And sometimes we would go to events like the first Formula One race that was held in Austin. People from all over the world came, and we had to drive 45 minutes north of Austin just to get a hotel. There's a lot of logistical planning involved. You have to think about your passengers first, and then when you get them off the plane and get them on their way, then you got to take care of yourself. So you're putting the plane up, you're coordinating, hey, we want it pulled out at 10 o'clock the next day. We're going to need, 6,000 pounds of fuel. And this is when we'll be departing. We need 2 bags of ice. We want catering delivered at this time. You go through the airplane, you tidy it up, you throw the trash out, you empty the ice bin so there's no mildew. You do everything. It's a lot. That being said, in between flights, you get to do whatever you want. So went to Hawaii several times, went snorkeling, took some really cool trips and got to see a lot of cool stuff in the downtime, especially after I finished my master's degree. Then there's no school left. So I left the hotel and flew with a really good friend of mine we flew for 6 years together. So he and I would we went to the Boeing Museum in Seattle. Anytime we went somewhere, we find something cool to do. So that part is really pretty neat. But yeah, that's what a typical day looks like. It starts probably the night before, and it ends when you finally get yourself to the hotel and figure out what you're gonna have for dinner.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say it definitely is very different than an airline pilot where you just get to the gate, you see the release, you talk to the other pilots, and then you just blast off. This is a lot more hands-on. There's a lot of planning involved. You do a lot more things. So if this is something that, you know, it's something you got to think about, if anything. It's a lot more work, if you will, as a pilot for a charter company. It seems like you got to do a lot more than just flying an airplane. You got to take care of your customers. You got to file the flight plan, weight and balance, and you gotta maintenance, and you gotta have your resources available to you. Contact them if anything happens. Take care of your hotel and everything else. This seems like a lot of fun. It seems like every day is a different day. Every day is brand new. But yeah, just really really cool.
There's a lot of responsibility involved, and unlike an airline, if you have an issue, you've got a team that helps solve the issue for you. If something comes up, if you land and your passenger's car isn't there, there's been more than one occasion where Jeff, the friend of mine that I flew with for years, he and I would take the car that we rented and go drop them off at their hotel or take them to their business meeting. It's
Sure.
a customer facing business. You want to provide the highest level of customer service possible. These people are paying a lot of money for you to take care of them, and while they may not expect the pilots to drive them to their meeting, that's just what you do. You try to go above and beyond, and any problem that arises is really kind of on you to fix. You're kind of on your own out there in the field. Of course, you work with dispatch and you always let them know what's going on, but no one else is really there to solve the problem for you. So you have to be able to think on your feet. You got to be able to maintain composure when things go wrong, and be able to take care of people when Plan A doesn't work out.